What is going on? How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a good week or a good day so far, whenever you're watching this. But anyway, big name hit the transfer portal from the SEC, coming from the Florida Gators today, and Texas looks like the leading spot to land him. Texas, you just lost CJ Baxter. Now, I will get into it real quick. This guy is Jaden Baugh. Now, a reason I think you're in line to land him. You just hired Jabbar Jaluke from Florida, which is Florida's former running backs coach after you fired Chad Scott. So I think you're ahead in the game on getting Jaden Baugh. Seems like Jaden Baugh is all but headed to Texas as it stands right now. Things could change because Georgia's also in on him. Ohio State's also in on him. I think Texas has a very good shot being maybe he wants to follow his former running back coach. So if you look at Jaden Baugh's stats last year for Florida, 220 carries, 1,170 yards, 8 touchdowns, averaged 5.3 yards a carry. Think though, this was against a very bad Florida offensive line. I expect Texas to be pretty heavy in the transfer portal, especially up in the trenches, because you want to get that run game going. Texas didn't have a good run game this year, and I think that is, you can't argue that. Texas didn't have a run game. And I think that was some of Arch Manning's struggles as well. If you think of Arch Manning, I think he had too much pressure on him as a freshman or as a first year starting quarterback in the SEC when you have all these hopes, like national championship hopes on your team already, and you can't get a run game. You can't be a one-dimensional offense with a first-year starting quarterback. Now, I'm not trying to make this about Arch Manning, but I do want to mention for Texas fans, I'm completely in on Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning is going to take a massive leap in year two. If you do look at how quarterbacks are, they typically take a big leap from first year starting to second year starting. And you got to think the guy has like some of the best mentors around him that you could possibly get. He has a good offensive minded head coach and Steve Sarkisian who can eventually use him the right way. I think you beef up that offensive line, you get a run game going, and I think you'll see a lot more productivity out of Arch Manning. I think he's just more of a raw quarterback than what we were expecting. But anyways, back to Jaden Baugh. So like I said, this was a very bad offensive line that Jaden Baugh was running around. So 266 against Florida State obviously stands out. 72 against Georgia also stands out. Yeah, the number doesn't flash, like the 72 yards doesn't flash. Georgia didn't give up a lot of rushing yards. Georgia was one of the better rushing defenses in the entire country this year. And, you know, I think once you get this guy behind a capable offensive line, he's going to do some damage. 100%. I mean, he had 107 yards against Texas. Yeah, it was on 27 carries. I'm sure Texas fans remember him. That's all I'm going to say. 150 against Mississippi State. He did get the ball a lot. He definitely did get the ball a lot. But again, like I said, that was also a bad offensive line, like I've said like 5 times already. And also, Florida last year with Jaden Ball was also seemed to be a one-dimensional offense. So DJ Lagway couldn't really get the passing game going. And I think that's also not a secret. All year we couldn't really see DJ Lagway get the ball going. When you're turning the ball over 5 times like Florida did against LSU when DJ threw 5 picks, kind of hard to get the run game going when they kind of know what's coming after your quarterback throws 5 interceptions. And Jaden Boss still planned, or he still ended up doing whatever. So if you're Texas, you just lost CJ Baxter. You had high hopes for CJ Baxter. The first year was very promising when he went for 138 carries, 600, almost 60 yards, 5 touchdowns in his freshman season. And his sophomore season was underwhelming, I would say. He didn't get quite enough play time or quite the play time that you were expecting, but you still need to see more productivity out of him. And like I said, no one in the Texas offense could really get the run game going, other than really Arch Manning. It seemed like Arch Manning would get it done a little bit with his legs when needed. But as far as running backs and tailbacks go, you didn't see much productivity out of him at Texas. So I do think that is going to be one of the big spots they target in the transfer portal. And Jaden Baugh, like I said, seems to be crystal balled there. He's not officially crystal balled, but if I had to make an early guess, seems like he's heading to Texas. I think if you get him, you get a stud. Now, when you picked up CJ Baxter during his recruitment, your hopes were, and even after seeing his first year flashes, your hopes were this kid could be one of the top running backs in the country. let me just tell you, Jaden Baugh, I think the ceiling is much higher for Jaden Baugh. And I was a big fan of CJ Baxter up until this year, honestly. I still think he'd be good. I still think CJ Baxter is a good player. I think Jaden Baugh has him beat. I think if you're looking at ceilings, I think Jaden Baugh has a higher ceiling. And I hate to jump the gun when you're looking at him. I think if you really do want to talk about his ceilings, I think by time maybe even next year, if you really do beef up this offensive line in the transfer portal, I think as close as next year, or at least when his senior year rolls around, you're going to look at Jaden Baugh and be like, this guy's one of the best running backs in the entire country. I think he has that type of potential. It's not even close to CJ Baxter, in my opinion. And like I said, I still think CJ Baxter's a good player. I just truly think Jaden Baugh is one of the better running backs in the country, and we'll really see that once he gets established in an offense and gets to actually run the ball behind a good offensive line. Now, talking about how important Jaden Baugh was to Florida, like I said, that was really the only productivity that you saw out of their offense. They had some good receivers, but you didn't really have a quarterback that was getting the receivers the ball. Now, I think you can get Jaden Baugh involved in the passing game as well. If you look at it, he can do some stuff in the passing game. I think the Texas system, I saw a lot of it towards the end of the season where Arch Manning's throwing these little screens and stuff. I think you can really get Jaden Baugh involved, and that'll also help Arch Manning and help Arch Manning even get more comfortable. I think he's that much of a difference maker in the offense. But anyways, back to the Florida thing. If you're talking about how important he was to Florida, he it seemed like when John Summerall came in, one of the key things that he wanted to do was try and retain Jaden Baugh. I guess the offensive staff changing all that had something to do with Jaden Baugh leaving. I would guess because he seems to be wanting to follow his running back coach based off of what you hear right now. Things could change. Things change in the blink of an eye, especially in modern day college football when lots of money is getting thrown around. But it seemed like they wanted to pay him whatever he was looking for in the portal, and seems like he's fully intended on transferring. Although he's not officially in the portal yet, there are some sources saying it's undecided, but I think more like I've seen more sources say it's gonna happen. Like it seems like it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be official within these next few days. I would think. It seems like Texas is definitely the spot to watch for, along with Georgia and Ohio State. But I think Texas. So, like I said, not too in depth. Just wanted to kind of run over some thoughts and opinions on that, and kind of talk about Jaden Baugh a little bit and what I think his ceiling is. And gonna have a lot more Texas content coming. A lot more Texas content because I love watching Texas football. I love this Texas football team, and I would love to get some support from the Texas fans as well. I love the Texas fans. I'll be at the game against Ole Miss next year. Actually, already planning on heading to that one. I was in Austin for the first time a few months ago. Thought it was the coolest place. So I'm definitely trying to catch a Texas game next year, and also a big fan of the Manning family as well. So love watching Arch. But anyway, um, like I said, lots of Texas content coming. I'm definitely going to be pumping out a lot of those. So if you did enjoy this video somehow, then consider dropping a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. And be on the lookout for the next few videos because you just made a defensive coordinator change too that I'm going to make a video on as well. So yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.